In today's episode of the Pathfinder Presents podcast, I have a very interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Caitlin Allen. She's hailing over as the VP of Marketing at OpenComp, and OpenComp is basically the compensation intelligence platform. And we want to really deep dive into what that really means, who's using it, and also how Caitlin is thinking about growth for the company. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, yeah. So maybe give us a quick insight in your own words. What is OpenComp all about?
Sure. So until now, companies have essentially been forced to make decisions about compensation, which is their largest area of spend, with stale information that's siloed, and to do that within really dangerously manual processes. And we've seen how much it's hurting their businesses and their employees and communities with things like all of the reduction in forces that have happened this year, with pay inequality that exists, and so on and so forth. And, when you think about it, what's really tough is HR leaders and finance leaders, even when they activate or put together the world's very best compensation programs, they have limited ways to activate it because they're largely dependent on the recruiters and the hiring managers who are making decisions about how to pay candidates and employees, and often outside of policy. And it's why compensation is so broken and why it's treated like an art and not a science. And so OpenComp exists. We work closely with the world's top professionals as well as the world's fastest growing companies to do compensation differently. And what I mean by that is our intelligence platform, our compensation intelligence platform, is something that HR leaders and finance leaders use to design and then to activate the best compensation programs for their business with things like market analysis, performance data from the field, and insights that guide every decision and action. And then their managers, recruiters, employees, and candidates use the platform to make the smartest decisions in the field, whether that's answering the question of, should I accept this offer or am I paid fairly? Mm-hmm. Or on the flip side, how much do I offer this candidate? How much does this top performer deserve in terms of a promotion in pay or salary?
That makes a whole lot of sense. Super interesting. Definitely way more transparency needed in that space, that's for sure. What types of organizations would you think benefit most? Like, I mean, it sounds it suits everybody, but there must be a sweet spot somewhere where there's a good use case.
Great question, and you're right. There is a benefit for both employers and employees. We all need to make smart compensation decisions, and we need to do it fairly consistently, quickly, easily, and with confidence. And I think that underscores, I'll get to your question in a second, that underscores for me why a new standard needs to be set for how compensation decisions are made, because consistency and fairness and competitiveness is not today's status quo. To the question, I would say that HR leaders benefit from the platform because they can streamline compensation admin, they can better attract and empower top talent, and then they're also able to pay fairly and consistently on budget. And we're generally talking to companies with about 100 to 1,000 employees, so that growth category in every industry except really for life and biosciences. Finance leaders also benefit because they can build more predictable forecasts and headcount plans, and ensure high retention. And then the other folks, recruiters, managers, employees, and candidates, like I mentioned before, they have a better ability to make smart decisions about how to pay their teams or make sure that they're getting paid fairly.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Okay, so now how do these folks hear about OpenComp? Like, what's the path that they usually take in order to get started?
Yeah. So to date, we have a product-led growth model. To date, we've been focused 100% on getting free signups into our platform. We recently hired out a sales team, so that's about to change. So my comments reflect prior focus on freemium signups that then a sales team goes and converts. 40% of our traffic comes in through paid media, predominantly Google search, display, and LinkedIn, given our target audience. And then 60% of our signups are organic, mostly fueled by a really heavy production of original content and thought leadership that we consistently put out on a predictable cadence.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, how do you think about the website? Like, what role do you feel the website plays? I mean, you're heading up marketing. What's your angle and take on the page itself?
What's my take on the actual page, or how to get people to the page?
Well, on the website in itself, like, because what we typically see is, I mean, feel free, both is interesting for the podcast. Maybe start with how they get to the page, and then we talk a bit about the page just after.
Sure. Well, so I think paid and organic channels are really important. We see about 60% of our web traffic come from organic search right now, and that really is reflective of the heavy production of original content that we're invested in. And from what I understand regarding a change Google is making next week, where they're going to deprioritize SEO only content in terms of search rankings, that's going to become more important. And then on the paid media side, so on organic, it's how well does someone's search phrases match the content that you're producing. So we have a variety of different content types, pillar pages, webinars, ebooks, blogs, podcasts, those kind of assets that need to align with those common search terms. For us, there's also a part of the puzzle, which is compensation software is not necessarily something that a lot of people are searching for. So there's a bit of a brand awareness component that is part of our strategy. On the paid side, really building campaigns off of one, existing search phrases, and then two, that brand strategy of how to change awareness or understanding of compensation. That's how we get people there to the website. And then once they're on the website, the pages that they get dropped into are really important. So we have a host of landing pages that we test on an ongoing basis that are related to sales actions we want people to take, things about our product, as well as more educational thought leadership kind of content. So far, the pillar pages that we've created are the largest performing assets on the awareness side, and our product pages are the best way to get people to our pricing page.
Oh, very good. Okay, so now when we talk a bit more in depth about the page, like, where do you see its current strength of the website, and where do you see even further room for development and improvement down the line?
Where do I see room for development in our website?
Mm-hmm.
It's a great question, and we just launched a new one, so it's probably premature for me to have a really great answer for you.
Mm-hmm.
What I will say is we've been really invested recently in helping in pairing thought leadership topics with what I'll call product use cases, which is to say, if someone comes to a pillar page to learn about compensation benchmarking, we needed for a while to do a much better job of then inserting buttons or calls to action or some kind of retargeting campaigns that then take that curiosity into how to do that in the product. So you're interested in benchmarking, here's how you can get benchmarking and market analysis in OpenComp's product, you should sign up for free. So making sure that that handoff is very tight between an educational topic and an action that they can take that we're interested in them taking. That's been our biggest focus recently.
Very cool. Now you gave us a great picture, right, on how you're thinking about growth, a very different, detailed insights into how you're thinking about how they get to the page and what they're doing on the page. I would love to switch gears a little bit and talk with you a little bit more about, once you got them on the page, is there something that you've learned over the years? Doesn't have to be now just with OpenComp, just in general. Is there anything that you've learned when it comes to how to actually, convince and convert them into actually doing the actions that are, for example, a trial or joining the product? Any tools, methods, approaches you've picked up over the years that you find helpful?
So I would say while they're on the page, you want to always have several different calls to actions consistently visible, right? So at the top nav, then a series of times throughout the different web page as they scroll. That's one thing that I've seen. Free trials and free signups, absolutely. I've at different points in time been invested with my team in furthering both. That tends to go a long way. Where things can fall off, though, is a lot of times marketing can put a lot of effort into getting people to sign up for the free trial, but then there's not as much attention on converting people after the free trial. So that's a call out that I would make of something I may have done wrong in the past and have action to make sure that doesn't happen again. And then there's a retargeting component. So whether that's search or some kind of email series that gets triggered based upon visits or where they've hovered on a website, that's also something that's really important. If someone spends time looking at your web page and then decides to go away, it's important to get them back.
Very cool. Nice. I have some rapid fire questions to get to know you and your journey a little bit better to wrap it up for today. Are you ready for those?
I am.
What's the last book that you read or the last podcast you listened to?
Oh my gosh. I listen to podcasts every morning. So this morning I listened to Build by Blake Bartlett, which is a PLG podcast. I'm currently on a trashy novel binge. So I won't share those books, but a business book that I would recommend that I've really, really loved recently is, let me look it up here. The Leadership Pipeline was really valuable for me as I've been thinking about trying to help my individual contributors transition to managers. It's a big shift. And then I also just listened to Death by Meeting, which is a novel about why meetings usually suck and how to make them good.
Very good. Now, what's the one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Wow. Our RevOps tech stack and how technology plays a role in the customer journey. And maybe to shift that a little bit differently, currently our different teams in our company use different terms for different parts of the funnel. And that has a problem in our tech stack as well for making sure that systems talk together. And so we're going through the process of scoping the entire user journey by persona segment across all teams, and then developing a series of weekly reports to make sure that we're all rowing in the same direction, so to speak.
Good. If there would be no boundaries in tech, what's the one thing that you would fix for your role today?
Diversity matters a lot to me. And I wish that there were more established pipelines of getting diverse talent into companies and nurturing them. And I also am always hungry for new ways to be educated myself and to have my team be educated about how to foster a team that has diversity of thought and diversity in all the other ways, as well as a place that's genuinely inclusive and equitable. So I would change that part about tech. I think we're on that journey. It's going to take us a long time.
For the very last question, I would like to ask you, if we do a little bit of time travel, right? If we go back to the days of the University of California, Los Angeles, now you're heading out of formal education into the world of, business and growth. And I mean, you've had some very exciting sort of parts of the journey in the business as well, a couple of exits. And now the question is, what would be the one advice you would give yourself for your journey?
That's a very good question. And I think it's a nuanced one for me in particular, because I would started off my career in nonprofits before I got into tech, and was on the PR side of things before really get into content marketing and demand gen. I think the thing that I was really grateful came my way by chance, that I would have told myself to seek out more proactively, is to find mentors that really challenge me and really, really give me direct feedback, and to be part of an active community of peers. That took me a while to do.
A lot of sense. So, Kaden, I really appreciate that you gave us an insight into the world of OpenComp, but also your own world and your journey as a business person. So I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about OpenComp, what's the one thing that they should remember?
Thank you for having me, Lucas. The one thing that I would say is that compensation doesn't have to live in a black box, and it doesn't have to be a heavily administrative art. And it's possible to have clarity at the point of every possible compensation decision and action, whether you're an employee or candidate or someone that manages a team or even an HR leader.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Platform Presents.
Thank you.